We've obviously been spending a lot of time talking about BattleBit Remastered as the playtests ramp up in frequency. Let's be real, you all know my position on the game and how much I've been loving it so far, but as much as I want the game to release right now so I can get my BattleBit itch 24/7, there's some stuff that I think the game could benefit a lot from before its release. So, g'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we're going to talk about my wish list for things to come to BattleBit Remastered as it releases into early access. So just before we get into the video here today guys, I just want to make a few things incredibly clear. Firstly, this isn't necessarily a complaint video against the quality of BattleBit in its current state. I mean, already BattleBit is one of the most functionally mature FPS games that I've played as of late, and that's prior to its early access release. The gunplay, the movement, the destruction, the VoIP, the class system, the groundwork here already oozes quality and puts forth an incredibly deep and enjoyable experience. The point of today's video is to highlight some areas in which I think the game could be improved upon to create an even more feature-rich and polished experience for the long run. Additionally, there's a chance that the developers may already be working on some of these suggestions in the long run, or, on the flip side, this stuff may be beyond the scope of the game entirely and will never be implemented. Either way, this is more of a video with some fun suggestions that in my mind would benefit the game greatly. Anyways, let's get into it. I want to start off with some quality of life features that I think would just add a little bit more polish to the experience here. Firstly, I would love the ability to compare weapons directly to each other in the loadout screen. BattleBit Remastered does a great job at presenting weapon stats in hard numbers and doesn't resort to using vague and meaningless sliders. Everything about a weapon's characteristics is laid out for you in raw data, which I love. But it does mean that there's a lot to take on board here, and it can seem a little bit daunting, especially when it comes to comparing weapons against one another. So a function that lets you quickly do a comparison at a glance to work out whether a weapon shines against another in certain situations will go a long way in helping players make informed decisions about their loadouts. Or you can get subscribed right here because we're going to be doing a ton of weapon reviews and comparisons for this game once it goes into early access. Just a cheeky self-plug there. But shameless self-plugs aside, and on a similar note of improving the loadout and character customization screens, I think some work can be done here to the character customization screen to clean up the experience a bit. As you can see here, there are a ton of cosmetics to pick from across all of the loadouts, but they also have mechanical impacts to your class. This can involve things like armor durability, how many magazines or gadgets you can take into battle on a respawn, and even your movement speed. However, what you may also notice here is that some of these items are effectively identical from a performance perspective and act solely as cosmetic alternatives. Now, I love that this is an option for players here, as it gives them an opportunity to customize their visual appearance without losing out on stats and feel like they've got to sacrifice their character for a look they don't like just to get the best case scenario. There's options here for players to explore. But by the same token, right now, it can be a bit of an effort to sift through all of these options of armors, helmets, and belts, whatever the case may be, by what stats they have. They all look different, and some of them perform different, but some of them don't. It can be a bit cumbersome. So as an example of a solution here, what you could do is take all of the quote-unquote heavy armors that are available to a certain class that, so you're taking more armor and gadgets into battle upon a respawn. They can be located under one subcategory drop-down menu. Basically, all of the armor kits that provide you with the most amount of armor upon a respawn and the most amount of gadgets that you can take into battle at one time can be all located under the one drop-down menu, which means that all you need to do when it comes to picking out an armor set is identify the playstyle, identify which armor set works for you and what category it sits in, and then pick out which aesthetic choice that sits under that subcategory works best for you. It's just something that I feel would make this menu less of a chore to work through and may see more user interaction with as a result. One thing that I am incredibly thankful for in this game is the fact that a legacy feature, aka the scoreboard, is in the game. Real class act there, but I do feel like some improvement can be made to it. Right now, the scoreboard gives us a real basic overview of KD and score for the game, but I'd also like to see an expansion made here to include things like assists, revives, objective captures, things like that. I get that not everyone who plays this game is going to be a crack shot and is going to be scoring ultimate KDRs, so giving players who opt for a more supportive or more objective-based endeavor a way to shine is a plus in my opinion. And on the topic of rewarding more styles of play, daily and weekly missions would also be cool additions to the game. Just stuff that encourages players to check out new objectives, experiences, or playstyles with the goal of speeding up their progression through the game. There's a few items either cosmetic or functional such as weapons, that requires some pretty significant grinding in the game's progression currently. So with the addition of some challenges that require you to try new things while rewarding said exploration of the game's mechanics would do wonders for the game's replayability, in my opinion. You can make the system as basic as challenging players to get revives, get kills with a certain weapon class, get headshots, get vehicle kills, so on and so forth, or you could even take it one step further and provide a pool of daily challenges that players can accept at their own leisure and sort of cater towards their playstyle that they wish to either explore or stick to. So you may have a pool of 9 daily challenges that rotate on a daily basis, but players can select from 3 of those challenges to complete based on what they feel like doing at any given time. I feel like encouraging players to explore different sides of the game, all the while, rewarding said exploration, would do wonders for this game's replayability in the long run. Another feature that I've come to love from other first-person shooter games is the ability to lock certain vehicles from certain players in the game. We've all been in this situation before in games, right? You've taken some fire in a fight in a vehicle and you need to retreat to repair it. You find some safe ground, maybe it's near a spawn point that your team has, and bam! Some random teammate pulls the sneaky on you while you're repairing your vehicle and starts driving off with it. Or hell, maybe that random puppy gunner that you've been rolling with since the start of the game was a cheeky bugger looking to pull the 5-finger discount on the driver's spot when your guard was down mid-repair. It's never a fun situation. So the ability to lock a vehicle to members of your squad or even just members of your party would go a long way in alleviating some of those fears. Now, that does leave the game open to potential griefing with this system. Parking a vehicle at the back of the spawn that is squad locked ain't exactly a good use of team assets, and it may mean that vehicles go to waste for long periods of time. But if you say set a timeout on the feature, where it means that if a vehicle has remained unoccupied by the driver who set the permissions for say 1 minute, the vehicle could automatically unlock for the rest of the team to use again. I feel like we could alleviate the griefing issue there. You could even make it so that certain seats could be locked over others, and you could have, say, your top gunner have a certain permission to your spotter kit in an MBT, stuff like that. But speaking of vehicles, let's talk about vehicle customization here as well. It's clear that in this game, vehicles don't take the precedence as far as the core gameplay is concerned at this stage. There's a lot of infantry-centric gameplay experiences in the game currently, and even the large-scale conquest modes that feature offensive vehicles like IFVs and MBTs, some of the maps feature a very limited number of offensive vehicles in action at a time. However, I feel that over time, vehicles will become more of a staple in the game. And with that, I feel like vehicle customization and progression needs to start making its way into the game as a feature. As of right now, vehicles are outfitted with universal loadouts, and while they can do a lot of work as it stands if you've got a good crew, it would be nice to have the option to further customize a vehicle to better fit your playstyle. Whether this comes via more weaponry options, different defensive capabilities, or even a different chassis that impacts the mobility of the vehicle in a different way. I just feel that given there is already a ton of progression present on the infantry side of the game, adding that depth to the vehicle side of the game would go a long way. Considering that more vehicles like transport helicopters are on the way here soon as well, I feel like this would be a welcome addition to those who would prefer a more vehicle-focused experience, and it would give that side of the game a bit more purpose. I would also love to see the developers continue to expand on the experiences on offer within BattleBit Remastered. And yes, I recognize that the flagship mode, being the 127v127 large-scale battles sort of esque thing that they've got going on here, is the main selling point of this game, but there's no harm in offering more experiences within the ecosystem of the game. This comes in not just offering smaller player count environments, scaling from 8v8 all the way up to 64v64, but also adding more game modes into the mix. I know TDM is currently in the game. I know there's also a cash run mode as well here that I haven't had a chance to play. I think Rush or a Rush-esque game mode is coming too. Hell, I mean, having armored and aerial superiority game modes as more vehicles get added and more fields of war get sort of fleshed out a bit would be fun for those who prefer the vehicle side of the game here too. BattleBit is a game that is going to appeal to many players due to its cheap early access price tag and its low poly, easy to run system requirements. So providing an ecosystem that allows for a ton of different experiences to shine through may go a long way to making this game successful. Hell, I'd love to see small scale 8v8 tournaments take place in this game in the future. And no, I'm not joking there. I'd love to shoutcast them for God's sakes. But beyond that, the next few suggestions that I have here to wrap up this video mainly come in the form of just more of everything. Firstly, more factions. I'd love to see more Blue 4 and Op 4 factions make their way into the game, maybe even with their own vehicles just to add a bit more freshness to the different, maps and game modes we'll find ourselves fighting on. Factions like Canada, Great Britain, Australia, China, Pan-Asia, Germany, the Middle Eastern Alliance. Just stuff like that with their own vehicles I think would add a bit of variety to the game, at least aesthetically, to that extent. I'd also like to see the developers continuing to expand on the gadget selection in the game, primarily in the form of launchers. At this stage, the RPG-7 is the only rocket launcher we have in the game with its 3 separate ammunition types. There's a ton of different ordnance you can look at adding into the game via different rocket launchers, and you could also make each launcher relatively unique so they fit different sort of, niches in the launcher market. Right now the tandem round for the RPG, it hits like a truck, but man is it hard to use. It'd be cool to see maybe tandem rounds come to the game that, are a little easy to use, but have nowhere near the same amount of punch available to them. Stuff like that would be really, really cool. In addition to that, and I don't know if this would work with the scale and the size of this game, but noting how much destruction is in this game and harkening back to my Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2 days, I really wish that grenade launchers in the form of 40mm were available here just to completely level buildings with and really take advantage of the destruction system with. Yes, there are a ton of ways to destroy buildings currently, and yes, there's also a risk of maps just being completely leveled by the spam of grenade launchers as the game goes on, once again due to the scale of this game and how many players are on the field at once. So of all the things I've suggested in this video, that's probably the one that I'd be most hesitant to include, but I think it'd be a lot of fun, at least to a certain extent. And last but certainly not least, just more weapon variety. Right now, there are some weapon categories that do get quite a lot of weapon variety available to them, such as assault rifles for one, and sniper rifles surprisingly seem to have quite a strong representation in this game already. SMGs are also on the way to getting that kind of variety as well, but weapon classes such as light machine guns and light support guns, as well as carbines, pistols and sidearms, are sorely needing a little bit more in the ways of representation in my opinion. In addition to that, and I'm not sure if this would even be a solid suggestion either, but shotguns, question mark? Would that be something worth adding to the game? Honestly not sure yet. This game's time to kill can bloom quite a bit depending on how much armor you hit and how good you are at hitting headshots, so I don't know how exactly impactful shotguns would be in a game like this, or whether or not it would even be healthy adding them to the game in the first place, but we'll see if the developers have got the appetite to include shotguns to the weapon variety in the long run. And on that controversial bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up my wish list for BattleBit Remastered. But now, I want to hear what your guys' wish lists are like. What do you want to see come to BattleBit as it comes out in early access? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, backhand the like button as it does go a long way to supporting the channel, and get subscribed if you're new here because a lot of BattleBit content is coming in the long run. Also, be sure to check out my social media links for more content on Twitter and TikTok in particular, and come join our Discord for some chats. Once again guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care guys, have a good one.